Thank you for joining us for this ABP Alumni Presentation on how to transition from your studies into your career. We are joined today by 3 recent ABP alumni who have made this transition with great success and who will share their insights and advice with us. Our presenters are Felicia, Lase, Michael McManus and Jiang. They will all cover a wide range of professions in the built environment industry. They will speak to us today about their time at the faculty of ABP and how they got to where they are now.
Everyone, welcome to the video. So I'm trying to be smart with the title because I'm getting the construction part. So it's how do you construct your career? All right. So just a bit of introduction. My name is Felicia. I was doing Bachelor of Environments, graduated 2016. Now I think it's called Bachelor of Design. So I majored in construction. At the moment, I'm a senior quantity surveyor at Slattery. And outside of work, this is just something I put there. I also do mentoring, involved in organizations, and I'm also involved in a jazz band, something I like to do in the weekends. So yeah. So before we go, this is actually supposed to be the part where it's a bit more participatory. What is a quantity surveyor? This is the part where everyone will give their answers, but because we don't have anyone here, I just put my answers in front. So I just put like a bit of a word blurb on what most people think quantity surveyor is. So the bigger ones are the ones like most associated to quantity surveyor, which is like numbers, costs, you just stay in the office, you just estimate. But then quantity surveyor is more than that. It's more about collaboration. You actually have to go on site every now and then. It's about client relation, innovation. We get involved in the design phase a lot as well. So these are the things that people don't really know. So it's a really well-rounded job in a sense. So just put a few photos I got from my office, basically. So this is just a few things that we do in our day-to-day basis. Of course, if you can see on the left-hand side, at the upper-hand side, you have to go on site. It's just from one of my projects down at Docklands. But then all the other stuff as well we're doing. So the one on the right is just our annual women's lunch. So it's our networking event that we're really proud of. It's really nice to just meet everyone in the industry, basically. And then the one on the bottom left hand, that's just actually an initiative that I started inside the company. It's called Innovation Working Group. Just because, I mean, quantity survey, we're not really famous for being the most innovative bunch. So we started this initiative to get everyone to be more innovative. So we did this innovation sort of session in between our meetings. And on the right-hand side is just your plain old doing it on your laptop or your PC. So just looking back on how I actually get to where I'm today. So I started at uni 2014, Bachelor of Environments, joined a lot of student organization, put their dintless industry award, but I'm going to tell you that's not the most important thing at the end. And then while I was at the last year of my studies in Bachelor, I started as cadet quantity surveyor at Slattery through their student program. And then I graduated at the end of the year, and 2017, I became full-time quantity surveyor after I graduated, involved in Innovation Working Group, industry mentoring, which something that I really like because I'm someone who likes to try a lot of stuff. So that's why I started the Innovation Working Group, get involved in mentoring, which is a really good thing. There's actually one I joined as a PCA, so Property Council Australia. This one is actually 500 women. It's only for women, but they also have another one, which is just the mentorship program, which is really good because you actually go to a lot of events and meet your peers, basically. And then just last year, I got promoted into senior quantity surveyor. Yeah, so that's just as an overall on my career. So a few things I learned, and also a few things that I want to show to everyone on how I started and how I got here. So the first one is to really start early and start early. So let's be honest. When I started, I also didn't know what I want to do. I think most students have the same thing as well, where you basically just feel lost. You don't know what you want to do. When you're in uni, it's easy because you just have to excel your next exam and just like go to the next level. But then after uni is finished, you sort of lost that sort of goal that you have in life for that 3 years. So I understand that everyone was basically on the same boat. I don't know what year you guys are in, but most likely you guys are in the same boat. I was in the same boat as well. But I think in terms of knowing your goal, it's not only about knowing what exactly you want to do, but it's knowing your values, your long-term goal. So as an example, the easiest one, maybe, do you want to work here in Australia or somewhere else? Do you want to work in the city or regional? Because that would vary a lot. I mean, if you want to work here, then probably for international students, you have to start thinking about visa, for example. If you want to work back home, then you have to start, ringing up your network. So it's all different. It's about the values as well. So for example, do you want to work mostly on site or mostly in the office? Of course, it's different jobs in that sense. So it doesn't mean you have to know exactly what role you want to do, because to be honest, I didn't know what QS was like a few years before I started. So, but it's mostly about knowing your values. And then after that, after you know sort of what's your goal during that time, research and connect. So when I first started, I think probably same as everyone else here, I put like an Excel on every company that I was interested to be working in, and just went to a lot of networking events, met a lot of people. LinkedIn is a wonderful place to be. What a wonderful time we have in our moment. You can basically just talk to a stranger, although that's something that might be weird a few years ago. You basically can just slide into a stranger's DM in that sense. And then you can ask them, can I have a coffee with you? I'm really interested in what you're doing. I just want to learn more about you. And most people are really nice. They're really willing to help you. And that's what I did as well. That's not what got me to the job, but by doing that, I know what other options I got. So do your research and connect with other people. And also start early. I think a lot of the mistakes I saw from my peers was they waited until they graduate and then they start looking for it. Well, the thing is, if you can see the start date of all the graduate position, it actually started 2 months after you graduate, but their recruitment process started a year before you graduate. So in that sense, you're basically losing your start there. So you have to start, for a bachelor, I would say at the end of your second year, that's when you have to start looking for any roles. For masters, you can start from the first year, I would say, because you've had some background, I suppose, in a bachelor. So in the masters, first semester or second semester, you should start, because you really don't want to wait until graduation. Okay, the second point, scores are not everything. So although I showed earlier, had awards, but really when I actually got into interviews, it's not everything. Probably it's something that can get you the interview. So because I'm doing recruitment as well, so when you saw someone's CV, oh, they got awards, they might be smart, diligent. So it shows that you're diligent. You might be good at your technical stuff, but it's not the main thing. So it got you the interview, but then when you go to the interview, they don't really care about your scores. For example, the thing that they talked about in my interview was not my award. So previously, before I worked at Slattery, I didn't really have any experience working in Australia. I had experience in Indonesia, just the usual 3-month internship that with some kind of Indonesian company that no one knew. So they didn't ask much about it. What they asked of me was, so previously I worked in a magazine. So that's the one thing that's the one point that they were like, oh, you work in a magazine, that's really interesting, tell us more about it. So you know how to write stuff, you know how to design magazines. I was really surprised, because I'm like, I didn't know I applied for a magazine job here. But yeah, so that's going to my second point. So it's important to get involved in other things, in other extracurricular activities. So for example, your student clubs. We have a lot of student clubs now. We have CSA, BIG, and all of that. So get involved in that, get involved in a lot of networking event. That would be a really good point in your CV. And also, as a plus side, you get to know industry people. And then also industry events, because it shows to your potential employer or someone in the industry that you're actually interested in the industry. If you just lock yourself up in a room, just typing away your CV, it doesn't show that you're actually interested in the industry. So yeah, and then also show genuine interest to learn. So that's one of the main thing when we interviewed someone, especially for like a grad or student position, because we know that they might not have like the best technical abilities, but it's more about how much do you want to learn, how easy it is to like work with you. So that's the important thing. So yeah, so it's show your value and not only your numbers. So by joining like a lot of organizations, having a lot of extracurricular activities, you can show to your potential employers or whoever you work with that you have value more than what everyone have. So you have to show how you can be useful for this company in that sense. And the third one is actually a really important thing, up your communication skill. So communication is key. This is actually from a research. So a lot of employers actually saying communication skill is the #1 thing that they're looking for. And after that, problem solving, and then after that, adaptability. Why? Because we're humans. We're like social beings. Your employers are also humans, so they want to like to work with someone they like. So this is important for everyone, but especially for international students. I know this is something that really it's really scary in that sense, because we're used to just use our own languages, and it's more comfortable that way. But then when you go to the interview stage, that's the one thing that they really like, oh, can I work with this person if I cannot really get along with them? So how do you actually increase your communication skill? Because this is probably not something that you can get, just by reading a book. So first, the simplest thing, have a chat with your friends. So not your usual friend, not like your little group of friends where you can use either your own language or like any kind of other languages. So reach out to your peers and have a chat. And as a plus, you might get other insights about the industry, especially for other students who work in the industry. I think it's really good as well. I've heard from a few of my mentees, they find it really helpful. They get one of their peers who's worked in the industry for 1 to 2 years as like their sort of mentor in that sense. So they can check for example, oh, I'm going to interview, can you help me? So it's a really good thing to have. The second one, I've been saying this a lot now because we like to do networking events. So networking events is really good just because you can, get out of your way and actually meet new people. So when you go to all of those industry events, do not let the focus of oh, I have to get a job. Don't let that be your main focus, because people can see through that. When you meet a new person and you're like, do you have any grad job or internship job? People will get turned off immediately. I mean, your future employer is also human. So try to make a conversation of, I'd like to know about this industry, and can I chat more about your role? So it's not really about looking for a job, but it's looking for that connection with other people. And you might not know, perhaps by doing that, that future employer might remember you. So in the next, round of application, they might like, we should put this person in because they're really good to deal with. They're really fun. And of course, the third one, you can always get help. Probably in the university, you will have a lot of sessions about this as well. You can get mentors, like I said, from the industry. You can reach out to someone from LinkedIn to help you with communication skill. I've heard someone who actually she met 100 people in 100 days through LinkedIn. So she was a really shy person at the start of it, and at the end of it, she's really amazing after that. So that's something they can do. We have all the tools in the world now just to do that. And then the fourth one, get to know your industry. I think this is really important, especially for people who want to start and then progress their career. Because like I said, during interview, when we want to get to know future employees, as I said, we don't really look at their technical abilities, because that is something that you can learn. But it's about communication skill, and also how much do you actually passionate about the industry. Because we do not live in silos, so you have to know your peers, you have to know your industry. go to networking events, get to know your uni mates, because a lot of my friends as well, they got jobs from their uni mates. So it's really important. General industry news as well. I mean, just look from the paper, basically. So in the interview, you can basically put that as a topic that you can talk to the interviewer, and that makes the whole interview more engaging. And in that sense, you make yourself different to everyone else. And this is something, the third one is something that I think a lot of students have a lot of potential on, knowledge leader on particular topics. So we did like the student program a month ago, and every time after the conclusion of the student program, we asked the students to like present on a topic they choose. And we always blown away every single time, because those are the topics we've never known before, but they really know in depth of that topic. So for example, they know so much about Internet of Things. Like, it's not something that we as quantity surveyor really know. So if you have that certain knowledge, you can work on that, and that becomes your value to your future employer. And this is something that I've talked about as well. Get a mentor through LinkedIn or UOM. So that's just in summary of the 4 things that I learned. Alrighty, so all good. So if you want to connect with me, I got my email and LinkedIn there. All right, thank you.
So my name is Michael McManus. I graduated from university in 2008 with a Masters of Architecture. I now run my own small business, a practice called McManus Architects. The focus of my practice is residential work, and I suppose I'm focusing particularly on providing accessible architectural design across varying budgets and varying scales, and guiding those projects from the design right through to completion when people move in. My path to getting to where I am now from university has been kind of a gradual accumulation of skills and experience picked up over 4 different practices that I worked at, which kind of gave me the confidence to be able to establish my own practice. I've always liked to be an all-rounder, and while I was at university, I kind of sought out subjects that were pretty diverse. So like I did digital design subjects. I also did the more sort of hands-on studios like Bauer Studio. And I think I've kind of mirrored what I did at university in my own career, in that I've tried to sort of get across all facets of architecture and explore small practice, big practice and media practice, and kind of all the projects that go with that. All of the practices that I have worked at have had an influence on how I approach design, also kind of the systems that I use now, and I think just generally how you kind of make a culture or the sort of way that you operate and conduct yourself, and sort of morals and ethics as well. So where did I start? These are some of some folio things, which now looking back are pretty embarrassing, but I thought I'd share them anyway, because coming out of university, I didn't have, going back to, this is in 3rd year of university, where it was customary to go out and do a year off, work as a student at an architecture practice. I didn't have a CV that had any architecture experience at the time, so it was really just my own attitude and folio work that was going to land me a job. So I applied at 11 different practices and received 2 job interviews, as well as job offers. I just sought to kind of get my folio out. I didn't really agonise on it like some students seemed to at the time. And I thought more about trying to engage with the practices that I was wanting to work at and understand their work, and I suppose try to sort of make a connection with them. So I chose to work at McBride Charles Ryan Architects as a student, and it was a year of very varied work. And one of the first things that I did was actually I had to design this cup, or work on the design of a cup, which was a Dulux Colour Awards trophy. And, you know, it's kind of representative of maybe you're not doing all architectural tasks, but you're doing all sorts of things that you may not have thought you were going to do, but I was eager anyway, and I suppose curious to try to learn whatever I could and relieve the more skilled staff to do more important things. But it was a fantastic place, I suppose, to just get an understanding of practice, because the projects that they had were all really diverse, from sort of schools through to houses, through to master planning competitions. And so it sort of just gave me an overview starting out. And I think I was pretty much hired not because of my skills, because I couldn't do too much independently, but my attitude, in that, I was eager and I kind of had a decent enough technical ability and a will to improve those that made me useful to them. So that was then. And then after that introduction to practice, I suppose I spent the next 2 years of university not working. Luckily, I didn't have to. So I was just focusing on my studies. And then came graduation time. And at that particular point, I remember everybody was worried about jobs and wanting to get their kind of foot in the door as quickly as possible. So it came like January after graduating, and I pretty much sent my CV to all these companies, and I made sure that I called them all first. I worked out who I was going to speak with. I sent them like cover letters that were all tailored, which is something that now students often just send me generic stuff, that their cover letters are all look like they've copied the text, and there's not been any real effort put in. So it was something that I did at the time, and I knew projects from each of these companies, and I made sure I mentioned them in in my cover letters to them. So from going out to 16 companies, I got 2 interviews and then 2 job offers, and then I chose the one that I thought was kind of the best fit for me. So I nailed the first practice that I was going to work at, and that was, I suppose, a small practice called Clare Cousins Architects. My first job was actually to help construct or do the contract administration on this house. So I didn't design it, but it was a good sort of learning curve of going out into site and working out how everything works and what kind of the documents spelled out, what was being built on site, and seeing the kind of differences in between those 2 elements. There was a team of 5 staff there, and it was really enjoyable to work there. And I got to participate in all aspects of projects, I suppose. I was doing retail design work, which was kind of fast and quick. I was doing residential work, going from like the early stages until completion and sort of defects. And I think in one way, housing was kind of neat in that it gave me that broad view of all those stages of architectural practice. Maybe not, to a great degree of detail, but it certainly introduced me to everything. After about 2 years, though, I suppose I wanted to see some bigger projects and try to explore and gain knowledge in a different area. So I went on to work at ARM. I probably only got a job because I had a friend from university who was there, and they helped kind of angle and get me an interview, which I always found useful. So when I first got there, I remember feeling like a fish out of water, because the projects were way more complex. There was heaps of stakeholders. They didn't go out to a traditional builder to be priced. It was all complicated. So I didn't feel like a lot of my skills were necessarily transferred straight away. But it kind of felt like going to university again, because the expertise and the staff was so huge and there was so much to learn. So I worked on a lot of projects, but 2 of them, one was the Geelong Library, and another was the Shrine of Remembrance. And I worked kind of in later stages of design and documentation with technical whizzes there, and I kind of picked up a lot of detailing skills and things that are useful in my own practice today. And kind of had the big smoke office, looking out, and it was good fun. But then after kind of having a narrow focus on what I was doing, I wanted to start to work with people one-on-one, and I couldn't engage with clients so much. There was so many people involved in every project that, you can only get your head around so many things. So I made kind of a decision to go smaller. So again, I had a friend at a practice at Kennedy Nolan who introduced me. I had an interview, and it was only really a role that was like 4 days a week, and then we became 3 days, and it was really based upon helping them with 2 projects at the beginning, and doing documentation. So it kind of took my skills from ARM, which is big buildings. They were moving into doing apartments, and they needed someone to document, and they kind of thought that I fit that bill, which hopefully I did. So they're the 2 apartment buildings which I worked on. It was a medium-sized practice or even a small practice doing bigger work. But it allowed me also to start my own business on the side. While I was at ARM at the end, I was also doing like private work, which are mostly for friends of friends, and they just kind of came about because someone would say, oh, I need someone to do my renovation, and I was eager and thought I'd give it a crack. And I found it enjoyable to be able to do my own thing and do it without a company buffering me from it, sort of putting everything on a limb, doing it yourself. So while I was at Kennedy Nolan, kind of worked on some of my own projects, and then it got to a point where they were going to construction, and I needed to then look after them a bit more and work full-time in my own business. So kind of that transition happened pretty organically. So now I work in this little building, and it's just me in my practice at the moment, but it kind of varies. Sometimes I hire people depending on workload. I've been going for 5 years, and I manage like 7 projects probably at once. Of those, maybe 2 are in construction. And the projects have come to me mostly through my network, really, because I find that you have to trust somebody a lot to want to engage them as an architect. And that kind of network has been built up from working from uni, a lot of friends at uni who have now got practices, and maybe I do smaller work and I can pick up smaller projects. And along those practices that I've worked at, I picked up contacts and colleagues at every one, and thankfully they've been able to deliver me projects. And so now I get to design projects from the very beginning. I take them right through, leading in myself. I get to work with clients and builders, really hands-on. And I really enjoy that tangible aspect of being direct with everybody. And these are just some of the projects that I have recently kind of finished. They're all single residential houses or even like villa units. But I found that working in my own practice has been something that you kind of fine-tune every day, and you try to better it every day, and it's always bringing new things in the door despite working within just housing itself. So that's been my kind of trajectory since university, and I'm happy being small, I suppose. Thanks.
Hello everyone, welcome. I'm Jiang from Starrywealth. To introduce myself, I'm an entrepreneur in property investment and fintech. I'm the CEO of Starrywealth, Starrywealth Group, and the Mini Billionaire Club. So what do? We do whatever the clients hate to do, but they really want to be done. I started my business with nothing. I just graduated from here, and I don't know what I was doing, and I was trying to figure out what to do. And then suddenly the opportunity came along, and my client said, Tick, can you find this site for me? And I start doing property development just because of that. Let's start from here. I just want to share you guys a story of how I started my career and my company. So for the starting point, everyone's scared and not sure about the future, and I have like a 3-step strategy for anyone to start out. The first one is very important to pick the racetrack. Like I learned from billionaire that when you see your future, you have to see it as a lifetime of career. Like what do you want to do? Because any decision you make today will affect your whole life. You don't really notice that until like 10 years later. So graduation is one of the most important point in your life where navigates into your future of your life. So what I mean about piece the racetrack, pick the racetrack is about, sometimes it's not about the job title you apply for or the company you work for, or sometimes it's not about what do you want to get, like you want to become architect, you want to become a developer, or if you want to just become an entrepreneur yourself. But it's more important to look at the bigger picture, to think about the world as a whole. Like the first thing you pick, like we think about is the whole world around you. It's like you're picking the country. So if you are in South Africa, you probably will choose a different career as if you are in Australia, because the economy in different countries are very different. And then you have to think about the industry you are in, because the growth rate of the country and adds up on the growth rate of the industry, and then it has a huge effect on the company, whether the company will survive next 5 years or whether it's going to survive the next 3 months. So you have to think for yourself, because you won't get to work, become a professional, and you also want to get paid and have a good life. So when you pick the racetrack, just think about the environment, pick the right industry that's growing, and pick the company that really gives you value. And the second thing is to negotiate your job deal. What I mean is, when I first get out of school, how I started, let me tell you the truth. I put an ad on Gumtree, says I can do translation, but I only negotiate business deals. And then someone called me, says, "Oh, you can translate. Would you help me to negotiate with this Chinese client?" I said, "Yes, but my rate is very high. I'm very, very expensive. But I will get the deal done. I can close the deal for you." And that guy said, "Okay, come and help me. How much do I need to pay you?" I said, on average, a translator maybe costs you $50, per hour. But I want $300 per hour, because that's what I'm worth, And then he said, "Okay, let's talk about it later. Let's try it." So I went to the meeting, and when I do the translation, I'm not just doing the translation. I was helping the company to sell their product and service to the client, because I understand they're not just communicating, in the meeting. In meetings, business people do business. So you have to know what they really want to do is to negotiate a deal and close a deal. So I helped them to have a successful first meeting. And the guy said, "Oh, you have some talent. Do you want to work for me?" I said, "Maybe, but I want to become a partner with you, If I can close the deal, can you offer me a full-time job?" And he said, "Yeah, maybe, yeah." So I said, so I followed up, and I worked with this client and get them, the best client they never had for the next 5 years. That's how I got my first job. But that was just a job, but I negotiate. It's the same as while I was working in my intern in China, I was starting my first job in intern in marketing. After the internship period, I would just say, can I get a raise? Can I become the manager? Or can I become the director, marketing director for the company? Because I set my goal high enough, and I know I can deliver the value. When you serve the people you work for, either it's the client or the business, you actually think backwards, right? You do the reverse calculation. Think about what they get from you. What's your value? So most of the time, if I do the real numbers, my client will make maybe like 350% of the worth of money that they pay me. That's the money they make, right? That's how you negotiate, because you have to calculate how much you're worth per hour, like doing translation per hour. I'm thinking about, I'm closing their deal. That's how much I'm worth. It's not like the time I'm worth, I'm closing the deal, depends on the project, and price it depends on project. So the thirdly is you have to think really, really long term. What I mean is really, really long term. It's a race. I'm not sure if anyone watched the YouTube video. It's called The Privilege. It's about a bunch of school kids from the US, and they were like starting a race to get $100 bill, right? And the teacher just said, you know, if you had the private education, please step forward. And then it said, if you had a tutor in your life, please step another 2 steps forward. And then if your parents haven't divorced, you can step further. You know, like all these things give you privilege, especially if you're from Melbourne Uni, you have the privilege, you have the, you know, you are ahead of anyone else to start in life. But when you start in life, even you have the privilege, you have to realize if someone's keep running and they are running faster than you, one day they can have a better life than you. Doesn't matter where they come from, because the rule of the game is the lifetime, right? So if like, that's why I also give myself a rule is I have to be a learning machine. I have to study all the time. I read maybe like 2 or 3 hours a day. I study 4 hours a day, like every day, just to keep me up to date, right? So that's how you can evolve and become someone else. And when you look back 8 years ago, look at your classmates, you know, and you will find out why everyone's become so different. We were sitting in the same room. We were, you know, all broke and, you know, just trying to pay for a latte, you know. And then now, like, I'm here. I only work 2 hours a day. I have 2 kids. You know, I spend most of the time with my babies, and I still running business and companies and doing big deals. Why? Because I started a long time ago. You know, I accumulate and I create system for that. So I will continue and give you more idea how to do it. You know, that's what I'm trying to share today. So that's me. Yeah, that's the previous counselor to Donald Trump, Ross. Yeah. So I was in the US, pregnant 7 months with my baby, and going to the conference, and had to spend 4 days with Ross and learn about negotiation and real life, right? And what I learned is the lifetime strategy is when we graduate, we have 3 things we have to think about. One is the project, because we all like graduate from, you know, architectural background or property, we're doing project. So any project we go through is our branding, it's important. So when you pick the project, like for example, I give you a real example. One of my classmates, I helped her to land her first job in Ellenberg Fraser. And the truth is how I got it, you know, got the referral. Referral is the only thing you can get your job, seriously, in Australia, you know, with international student background. I'm just be honest, right? So how I land her the job is I ask her, you know, do you want to do small project or big project as an architect? She said she wants to able to do it all. I said, you know, small project is easy, but big project are very complicated. So you have to go always pick the harder one, and then you do the easy one. You can do it better, right? So I said, well, do you want to go to the best architecture firm at that moment, you know? And she said, yeah. I said, but your family is a developer. You can just buy a architecture firm, and then you become a partner. You can learn from the best. And she's like, oh, I never thought of that. I said, oh, let's go. Let me find you a development company, or you can buy an architecture company. So we went to the developer Hampton. There was also an alumni from here, very famous Paul, right? And we met Paul and said, oh, I heard that you need a partner. You might need a Chinese investor to become a partner, right? And Paul is like, oh yeah, we can think about that. And but in the meeting, we had a really, really good meeting. But in the end, Paul asked my friend, said, do you really want to be an architect, or do you want to just be a, you know, business owner, or, you know, do real design, or, you know, do the development, do the project? And she's like, I think I'm very artsy, so I just want to be an architect. So what happened in the end is, Paul said, oh, that's easier. You don't need to buy my company. I can just send you a referral for you to Ellenberg Fraser. I said, okay, that's what we want here. So she got her job. But we set up meeting trying to buy the company, That's what I'm trying to do, When I graduate, I was trying to sell a company and she just trying to be an architect, just trying to sit there, find a spot in the office. Okay, so the project is very important. So pick your project because you like when I think about when I started my first project doing development, management for the clients, I was thinking I spent 12 months, I can do maybe 2 townhouses, or I can manage a 63-floor building, It's the same amount of time you spend, but you learn so much differently. So you always pick the hard one. The project is so important. It's everything you can learn, right? If you want the fast track, pick the harder one. And secondly, your branding, like how you treat your client. You have to treat them like your best friend. Like I have lots of clients coming back from like 80 years ago, 10 years ago, and then they still wants to do business with me because I always give them 120% what they want. I don't tell them how hard I worked, how many nights I didn't sleep. If they want to work midnight, I will work with them, anytime. I don't have holidays, I don't have weekends. Anytime they need me, I will be there. That's how hard I work, right? And then your racetrack is so important. So everyone's competing now. You pick your racetrack. If it's fast track, you can definitely go further. So just remember that. So let's move on. For the life race, I have some tips of how to raise the career or your life. So you have 3 roles. Right now, everyone has multiple roles, right? You can be a minimalist or you can be an architect. You have multiple social roles, but when you think about business or think about work, you have to be 3 roles at the same time. First of all, you have to be the boss of your own career or business. You need to find the resources for the race and make it happen. So anything you want to achieve, you have to find the resources. Either it's networks, or you need money, or you need resources. You have to find it and make it happen. Secondly, you have to be the coach at the same time, or you can find a coach. You can find a mentor, you can find someone who inspire you, and they can help you to allocating the resources and building the team for you and make it work. And thirdly is the research. So you are also the researcher. Like if you're an architect, you are architect. If you're a developer. So you have to be highly skilled, right? So you have to good at what you do. You have to work hard and give 120% every time. And that's how you can win the game. So practice learning, like what I said, learning machine. And I also recommend everyone to keep reading books, updating your knowledge. I have like a billionaire list of books every year to read. So whatever billionaires recommend, I will just read it. Like Bill Gates, right? He has a book list. I will combine everyone's book list. So on average, I read about 100 to 150 books a year, English books, and then another maybe 100 in Chinese Mandarin. Yeah. So that's a life race. That's a Hilton, yeah, from the Hilton family. That's Apple co-founder, Steve. So what's important? What can set you apart? I have 3 tips. The first one is the big opportunity. So what that means is not anyone can get big opportunities every day, In your life, you probably got maybe 10 to 20 big opportunities come along. So what you should do is just wait and just be patient. When the big one come along, and just make the right decision, take the opportunity. For example, right now, right, the coronavirus, the market is so volatile, everyone's so scared, everyone's focused on the virus and the health. But what I'm focusing is about good investment, because people are too scared, they're overreacting. That's human nature. So then you can get deals really cheaply right now, right? And you can also benefit a new business, because what the other people don't want to do, you can do, right? That's creating new business and new jobs. And if you can help people anyway in this world, if you can contribute, that creates value, and you can make a successful career and business. And the secondly is a 5% luck. that's what we need for big opportunities. Not anyone's always luckier than the other one. It's sometimes you know you're lucky that day, right? And when you have the luck, you have the opportunity, you can actually have a much better life than anyone else. It's just from the book I read it. And I think it's so important because I got the times in my life, I feel I'm lucky because I've met through work, I've met so many billionaires, great, masterminds, and they taught me so much about how to get ahead in life, how to have a better life. That's why I want to share you. But most of them will tell you they just got lucky, to become who they are today. And when they got lucky, it's not like, oh, I'm lucky, I'm sitting here, I'm not doing anything. It's when you got lucky, you're gonna go out and do a lot more than other people who's going to do. And the thirdly is not to do list. That's a must to have because we only have limited time. We can do so much in life. Like I have so many projects coming to me every day. Like I go through maybe last year, I went through maybe like 320 projects coming to my table, and I have to pick and choose which one is good for my client, right? So many opportunities, investment opportunities, property opportunities. So we have to think about things we don't want to do and delegate to other people. Like I have a full-time nanny, a Japanese nanny at home. So she's doing all the things I don't want to do. And I have catering people who's cooking for me. So that saved me time. Sorry. I think that's almost done. Okay, so think about your future. Is thinking about the roles and contributions to this world. So you have to pick your roles. There's multiple roles you can be, but the tip is in this new world, the more roles you can have, it actually adds value to your company. Sometimes, if you are a YouTuber, you are good at social media, but you are architect, it actually can help your company as well. But you think about your contributions, not what you get from your work or what's on the desk. Think about what you can contribute. And also skills and finance, and think about what skill you want to build, but also think about your personal finance. That's so important. I wish I would know, when I graduate. And also success and failures. I experienced so much more failures than success. Maybe 99.9% of my project fails. Like I didn't get through to my clients, but I just keep going. That's the nature of my business. I fail more times than anyone else. But that's important, just keep going. And I think that's it.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I talked too much. Thank you.
No.
Best of luck.
Thanks so much again for watching this presentation. I'm sorry we weren't able to deliver this event live and allow for audience questions, but we hope you still found this recording insightful and worthwhile. Do make sure to look out for the opportunities that the Faculty of ABP offers to connect students with industry, for example our numerous student associations or the various mentoring programs on offer to help you make your transition into your career. Many thanks again, and we look forward to having you with us at future alumni presentations.